Welcome to episode 9 of the devlog. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some experimental ideas that we've had with the tagging tools and kind of the tagging ideas and kind of how we're implementing that, because if you remember from our experiences with some of the other tagging kind of implementation or melees in other games, it's all been kind of really rough and kind of gross feeling. And so we've had a lot of ideas to try to
The word is awful.
awful. We've had a lot of ideas to try to like figure out how to remedy that, how to fix that, how to make it feel good, but also be balanced. So you can't just spam the crap out of tagging. And we're just going to go over a couple of those today. And again, all this stuff is experimental. This is not in like actual notes. It's not solidified anywhere. I mean, it's on a note, but it's not like a solidified, this is what's going to be in the game 100% kind of document. This is more like we're going to go through some brainstorming ideas and kind of see what works and what doesn't, and kind of so we can all be on the same wavelength, if that makes sense. So I will say, roll the intro. That's not going to happen during the live stream. So
Yep, it never will.
It never will. No.
What I think brought us on with talking about animation and stuff originally in our game design is because like this game was started in Titanfall 2, which had basically a teleport like melee, like you melee, and if you're relatively close, you just get pulled to them and you tag them. That cannot be a thing in our game because it's really jank and really bad. And we played parkour tag, which also had a closer implementation of what our tag would look like. Because there's a lot of work we need to put in to make the tagging of our game actually make sense and work properly.
Exactly. Okay, so basically, if you don't know how tagging works, we have what's called a tagging tool. There's going to be some cosmetic implementation of those, obviously. Nothing gameplay affecting, but the tool itself you'll have to pull out using a keybind or something. Imagine it like another ability. You pull out like a fishing rod, or you pull out your hand, or you pull out whatever, does that make sense? So the tagging tools will have inspections, like kind of like how someone flings their kunai in CS, or spams the crap out of their heirloom in Apex. Well, one of the main problems was like, okay, let's say for example your primary tag is left click mouse, right? If that is the case, how do you tag someone when you're holding an ability that the activation for the ability is left click mouse? You have to put the ability away and then tag. So like we're like, okay, if we're gonna do that, we might as well just make something you pull out,
something to swap to,
something to swap to, exactly. And if we're gonna do that, might as well make it inspectable, make it all this extra stuff, make it more fun, add some whatever,
make it cool.
The ideas we're kind of messing around with a little bit is like adding weight tagging tools, so if you think like in certain games each gun will have a certain weight, so if you carry like a light machine gun, you'll walk slower than carrying an SMG or something. Same idea, similar to that for tagging tools. That one's we're looking at still, because that makes you so you can't just like leave out your tagging tool indefinitely and spam the crap out of your tag, if that makes sense.
Tagging tools are basically cosmetics, right? So we have the idea of like tagging tools like having a weight or slowing you down when you run out, and that you not have to use move it. That's still work in progress to see. And like your hand is still technically a tagging tool, like you'll have a button, it'll just be like ready a tag or something, right? That's what the button will be, and then it'll allow you like take out your hand. You'll see your hand like reaching out to like go for a tag, right? That's what it'll do. And so if you have a tagging tool equipped, it'll be just a cosmetic, and it'll be like something else in your hand, right? And at the start we had stuff like it'd be funny if we had like a fishing rod, and like there's a little animation after you tag them that like hooks them, and then you reel them back in.
Exactly.
So like there's gonna be
or
like
throw a bug net over their head.
There's gonna be like a Apex finisher or like a Valorant kill finisher kind of animation that happens after you tag them. And the idea is we wanted like cosmetics, but we didn't want to like upset the flow of gameplay, but we still wanted ways to customize gameplay.
The danger meter, we've
Mhm.
talked about this before. It's a meter that changes color. It changes, in size or whatever. It fills
Mhm.
up the closer you are to the target, or the target is close to you, if that makes sense. Like if the chaser's chasing after
Yeah.
you, it'll go red if they're able to tag you within the range that they're at. Once you're in that zone, that's when you'd want to attempt to tag. Basically, you'd pull out your tagging tool and try to tag the person. If you fail to tag them, then you will lose 50% of all your speed.
Mhm.
Right? Imagine basically like Dead by Daylight when you melee. I don't think that's where the idea came
Yeah.
from, but it's very similar. You're going to have the pull-out animation for, your tagging tool. You're going to have a charge-up
Mhm.
animation, or there's another mechanic that we're working on. And then after that, you have a swing animation, which is like,
Yeah.
so after. So imagine kind of like you have to hold down your button, and then once it's charged up, you let go of the button,
Mhm.
and then it. So obviously we're always
Okay.
coming up with ideas. The way that our text files kind of work with these documents is we have certain colors that decide like what's set in stone, what's still working. And so some of
Uh-huh.
these things that we're going over are those like still work in progress kind of. They're in the color range, because once you have a document this big, you'll start forgetting what stuff is and what's solidified and what's
Yeah.
not. And so
Mhm.
the ones that we're going over now are all in the, either ruled out or hyper on the fence about like this is probably not going to get in, or if it is, we have to still rework it a ton more. Let's say there's an animation,
Mhm.
for example, you have the fishing rod, or you have the bug net. These are not in the actual game.
Yeah.
There's no plans
Yeah.
for
This is
putting them
just
in the game right
ideas.
now, but I'm just saying an idea. If you have the fishing
Mhm.
rod, and let's say your tag is frame 1, you pull out your fishing rod, you tag them immediately, but the animation lasts for a second.
The animation's
If
still
they
going.
go
Yeah.
away, if they slide or use an ability or go invisible or something like within that 1 second, that your tag animation is still happening, the
Mhm.
bugginess that's going to happen with that animation, not like if you throw the fishing rod and it doesn't connect to the person because the person went left instead of
Uh-huh.
straight, because does that make sense? The tag happens before the animation even happens.
Mhm.
Like you start charging up your fishing rod and they're already tagged, and so it's like,
Yeah.
so then you have to fix something with that. And also just because it feels not unfair, but it feels like it's not a skill shot anymore to hit, like tagging. It's more just like a, just flick shot them with your tagging tool. I mean, if you miss, you miss, and you suck, but like, exactly.
You're like you click and then your animation
And
is
you have to
going up, and
wait,
then like you
and then you
swing
have to
and they have to wait
re-map.
because then like
You have
yeah,
to
and then like
re-aim
something
after you've clicked. You
happens.
have to click and then re-aim.
Yeah, so
Um,
I feel like we'll get in situations where we'll see players like get really frustrated with it, not like
exactly.
syncing up. Obviously, all this is still
Yeah.
up to testing, and there's so many minute little things that you can change to just try to get it to feel better, right? So
And we're
all
gonna be
this is
testing
just
it all.
purely
So.
theoretical. Yeah, like we're trying to create the ultimate esports. It can't be super intense to get into, but it needs to have a super high skill ceiling, and so there's all of that that needs to get balanced.
The high skill
And
ceiling is given to you by the creativity you get for your kits,
yeah, the amount of abilities, the amount of
the amount
perks,
of
the
abilities,
amount of
amount of perks,
movement,
and then
stuff to learn.
the
There's
amount
a
of
lot to learn,
mechanical
but everything is
movement.
relatively easy within
Yeah,
that, right?
the
Like we've
amount of
done a
mechanical
really good job
movement and the
balancing it.
amount of like mechanical input for like hitting abilities, skill shots, those kind of things.
Hmm.
So you've got the big
Yeah,
three. Um,
and
but all of those are
they're all skills
relatively
that
easy to
anyone
pick
can
up.
pick up and learn,
Yep, exactly.
right? And they're easy to pick up and learn, so they're not too like complicated. But the better a player is at it, and then there's going to be just more and more players that are better and better, and so players themselves are just going to raise the skill ceiling of what's
Mm-hmm.
possible with the mechanics, right?
It's got to feel rewarding when you get the tag, but it can't feel like physically impossible for you to get to tag off, Like if you're running behind them, you
Yeah.
need to be able to tag them. And that doesn't need to be necessarily like easy, but it can't be super difficult if they're running in a straight line, you still can't tag them for no reason. All these values that we're going over, and obviously we won't
Mm.
have them out until later, but
Yeah.
tagging is definitely going to be the most difficult thing to get right as far as the feel goes. And, at some point in time, if we can't get tagging to feel correct, there's going to be, some major halt in development because it's like the literal major thing in the game. Like, we could get
Uh-huh.
everything else feeling perfect, but if tagging's bad, then we got to keep working on it. Bugs are visual, bugs are auditorial, bugs are all that stuff that you can fix. Like they're,
Mhm.
oh, the collision box doesn't correct whatever. You fix all that.
Yeah.
But like
But
the
if the
feel of
tagging
tagging, it's like,
feels weird, that's not a statistic. You can't it's off of feel. It's hard to, Thank you for joining us for week 9 of the DevCast. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing a little bit in the insights about tagging.
We're in a transition state right now, so
Mm-hmm.
transitioning from some stuff that we're doing or we were doing and now what we're doing now or what we're trying to do. Like, for example, these dev logs will turn into actual development logs when we start working on the game, talking about what we worked on during that week and what kind of was some of the major roadblocks and the hurdles and
Update stuff. Yeah.
and like we'll still do some of this content as well. We'll still talk about what the plans are and whatnot, and we'll do like some intros and then maybe some gameplay footage or some whatever. But
yeah,
we're in a transition phase where it kind of goes. Plus, we're not necessarily running out of things. We're running out of things, stuff that we should share. You know,
that and or are easy to get you to understand.
Yeah.
Like not you, but like the viewers to understand.
Yeah. There's not like a whole lot left as far as things that are like entertaining
that
and
really
like, easy
describe
to
the
digest.
game or like
exactly.
Yeah.
We've covered most things, and again, we could do like some broad category, of something, or we could go super in depth in another topic if we wanted to. But
yeah, stuff like that would require like writing a whole script and everything.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens with the next devlog. Should be good. Should be fun.
Alrighty.
We'll see you guys next week on Wednesday.
Well, thank you for joining us for this devlog. It's been great. We talked about tagging, and next week we'll talk about something else. So we'll see you then.
Exactly. Perfect.
Later.
See ya.